Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel NEET Yug. In this particular video session, we'll be discussing about the third property of life, that is metabolism. You know that you are made up of chemicals. All living organisms are made up of chemicals, and we eat chemicals. I mean a good chemical in the form of food. We take the food, get digested in our stomach and intestine, then actually using microvilli, the nutrients will be absorbed into the bloodstream. The blood actually supplies the nutrients, that is chemicals, into each cell. So each cell gets that chemicals. Okay, so already chemicals are present in the cell. So these chemicals, the cell chemical will react or interact with the chemicals which is in the form, which is taken as food. Okay, so because of the interaction of the chemicals, the cell divides to produce two cells. As a result, growth occurs. All living organisms, obviously, these kind of interaction, chemical interaction, will be seen in all living organisms. As a result, they grow and they develop. Correct. Okay, so what is exactly the term metabolism? Metabolism means, I told you that in all living organisms, chemicals, there are so many chemicals, they interact to interact with each other, and they coordinate the functions of each other. As a result, and a complete organism is formed. Correct. So metabolism, in the sense, it is a sum total of chemical reaction occurring in the body of an organism. So that is metabolism. There are two types of metabolism. One is constructive metabolism, other one is destructive metabolism. The constructive metabolism is called as anabolism, whereas destructive metabolism is called as catabolism. What is anabolism? See, anabolism in the sense, like using simpler molecules. What happened actually due to chemical reaction, the simpler molecules, they combine and form a complex molecule. See, this anabolism is required for growth. If anabolism is not there, growth will not take place, because obviously growth in the sense increase in mass. So anabolism helps to increase the mass by producing proteins, hormones, etc. In plant, a good example for anabolism is photosynthesis. Remember it, in plants photosynthesis is a very good example for this anabolism. I have already written, see, bricks to house, that means anabolism means using tiny bricks, that is actually simpler molecules. Ultimately a huge big molecule is produced. Say, using bricks a house is constructed. Correct. So bricks are the basic units to make a big house. So there is construction. So AC, anabolism is constructive metabolism, whereas catabolism is destructive metabolism. In the sense, glycolysis is a very good example that occurs in all living organisms. You eat food, obviously the food will be delivered, that is nutrients will be delivered to each cell. For example, let us take glucose. The glucose get broken into tiny pieces for pyruvic acid. Then pyruvic acid enters into mitochondria, then Krebs cycle occurs, then actually electron transport system takes place. All these things you are going to study about it in higher classes. Okay, ultimately because of the glycolysis, what happens? ATP, that is energy is produced. These energies are used to anabolism. These energies which is liberated in the cell is used for construction of complex molecules. Here what's happening, the complex molecule which is in the form of food, the chemical, gets broken into tiny pieces, that is the simpler molecules. At the time the ATP energy will be released. This is called as catabolism. It's a kind of destruction. You can imagine that house is destructed and you get bricks actually. To construct house you need bricks. So this is actually anabolism, catabolism. It occurs in all the living organisms. Ultimately this is metabolism. Remember it. If anabolism exceeds catabolism, the rate of anabolism is more than catabolism, then only you see growth. In all living organism, anabolism rate must be greater than the catabolism. That is, constructive process should be more than destructive process. Then only you see growth. What will happen if the rate of anabolism is normally lesser than the rate of destruction, that is catabolism? Then what you see is degrowth. Here you cannot see the growth. Instead of growing, degrowth will occur actually. Okay, so degrowth. Whereas, what if happen? If there is a situation where if the rate of anabolism is exactly equivalent or it is equal to catabolism, that is constructive process and destructive process are equal at equal phase, then you will not see any growth. So you will not see any growth. So remember it. If anabolism exceeds or more than catabolism, then you see growth. So for growth, what is required? Anabolism must be there. Whereas if anabolism is lesser than catabolism, degrowth occurs. Whereas if anabolism is equal to catabolism, then there will be no growth. Okay, so I just want to give you one information here. See, 99% of the human body mass is mainly made up of oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium and phosphorus. So hope you understood what is exactly metabolism and the two types are very important. Remember these points actually for your need. Metabolism is required for all living organisms growth and development. Without metabolism you cannot see the survival of any living organism. Correct. So metabolism is a well defining property of life. So in our next video we'll talk about cellular organization.